guys, this guy here from Y.C.G, your casual gamer. Time to add our material to our scene. By doing so, I'm going to take the advantage over here to talk to you guys about 4 different textures that I like using inside Unreal Engine 4. You have the diffuse over here, the roughness, the normal map, and the height map. And I'm going to show you guys how each of them act differently with our material editor. And also, I'm going to show you guys a little bit about a new program I stumbled onto thanks to my teacher called Materialize. And the best thing about it is that it's 100% free. So stick around. Alright, let's get started. So let's grab a cube and bring it inside the scene, just so we can set up our layout for the examples. And I'm going to bring also a point light. That's all you need for now. And make sure to put it editable, movable I mean. And I'm using the old scale light, so I'm going to use 2000 units. That's about right. And let's jump inside. There we go, lit. Now, the first texture that we're going to talk about is the diffuse texture map. So what is the diffuse? Diffuse is most likely what you're going to get every time you look for texture. So let's say over here I just type in on Google gravel texture, and you're going to see everything that it shows me right now is most likely diffuse. And the reason it's diffuse, let's grab something bigger, this over here, is because if I were to take a picture in bright daylight, this is the result I would get. So you can see that the shadows where the light didn't reach is seen by my eyes right now. So it's not a true color. You get the color, but you also have the ambient occlusion, which is how the light reacted on your surface. And this is where we're going to work from. So go ahead and grab yourself a texture, and let's jump right away inside Materialize. Now I'm just going to talk a little bit about Materialize because it's an amazing way to create textures for your games, and it's super simple to make. But if you want to learn more, I'm going to leave in the description below a nice tutorial on how to work with the Materialize. Now right there, all I'm going to do is click on the open over here and grab my gravel that I got and select. And before, to be able to make all your maps, like the height map, the normal map, the smoothness over here, which is the roughness, the mid-tile, the edge, there's all these maps that you can actually create. It would take a lot of time. You would have to basically go inside and change the values and just switch them. And now to show you how this program is amazing is, and you can even choose the file format, is that let's say I want a height map. I'm going to do create, and I'm not even going to play with this, set as, and let's say for the normal map create one and set as normal, and then smoothness create one and set as smoothness. Now I didn't play with any of the settings that they give us, and I just took the basic that they have, and then I can click on show full material, and I can put it on the plane, or I can put it on the cylinder or sphere, and I can see right away that this looks pretty awesome. I didn't do anything, and I already have all my maps pre-calculated. I can play with the deformation, the smoothness. I can play with the light if I want to move it around. It's just that easy. So get it. It's free too. I didn't make it, but you should definitely use it. Now to get it, very simple. Go to bounding box, and the only downside about this is that the program is only for Windows. So if you're playing with Linux or Mac, I'm sorry, but it's only for Windows. Okay, so now that you have your textures, so I already have my 4 that I already tweaked and played with a little bit inside the Materialize, and I'm going to leave a link where you can go get them on my Dropbox, so don't worry about if you don't have them right now, or you can go get them, pause the video and go get them. So now let's go ahead and right click on the diffuse and make a material. Call it gravel dash real, and double click inside, and there you have your material editor. Now I'm going to try to make it fit on the screen so you can have a live display. So if I wanted to, I could just jump inside and actually see over here on the sphere, and it works well for the first few maps, but when you get more in depth, you want to have your actual scene to be able to see how it reacts to the surface. So basically, using all these maps is just a way to add resolution to your texture. Because the best way to create nice scenes inside Unreal Engine is to actually fake your resolution. Because if I wanted to, I could sculpt every little detail inside my mesh, but it would take me hours. And it would be so expensive GPU wise and CPU wise that my game would be almost impossible to run. So you got to find a way to have little polygons. And what I mean by polygons is not a lot of faces on my mesh, but keep that nice resolution on my texture. Yeah. So now let's grab the gravel and put it on my sprite. Not my sprite, sorry, my mesh. And let's jump inside lit mode. So right away, if I bring the light closer, you're going to see that it really reflects right away on top. And it's not really how the gravel should work. Because in real life, you know, if you walked outside and you saw rocks, they don't really reflect light because they're so rough. So that's where the roughness map comes into play. So the roughness map, the way it works is that it actually really creates. So let's go ahead and grab all our maps now. So control click each of them and just drag them inside the material editor. That way it's easier for me to just go through each of them. So now the roughness map, the way it works is that it calculates how much the light surface reacts on the texture. And now be mindful, in Materialize it's called softness. And the reason so is because you're gonna have two terms when you're talking with roughness map. You're gonna have the roughness map and the gloss map. And they both do the same thing but inverted. And since this is a smoothness map, it actually is glossness. I had to go look it up, and this program is actually for Unity, or I think so. And therefore, I know that the glossness is going to be inverted from my roughness. So if I go ahead right now and double click and add this to the roughness over here, you're going to see that it's going to do the opposite of what I want, which is going to be super shiny, and I don't want that. So does that mean my texture is bad? No, that's the answer. I just need to find a way to invert it. So that just means that for the glossiness, maybe my texture, whatever you see over here, means that it should be shiny, when in my version of the roughness, I want whatever you see to be very rough. So I just have to grab from here and do a 1 minus, like this, and then connect it to the roughness, and you should see right away that there it is. Now everything is rough. So that's the information you have. If you want to play with those information, you can just hold M and left click to make a multiply, and then hold 1 and left click to make a 1 vector. So that allows you to play from 0 to 1 with the value of the roughness. Because after 1, you could go higher than 1, but it doesn't matter anyway. As soon as you pass the 1 value, that's the maximum you can get. So I'm happy with, let's say, 0.8. And there you go. So you can see right away, if I disconnect the roughness, how different it is. See over here, I see the spotlight inside, and it really looks flat. And then as soon as I add the roughness, I start getting a little bit more detail in my sphere. So there you have it. Now the third one is, so if I go back inside my scene, you're going to see that now it looks already a lot better. The way it reacts to the light, it starts to look like gravel. Now the thing is, I don't really see any depth on my structure. I don't really know which rocks are more lower than the others, which ones are sticking out. I mean, if I look on the side over here, remember this, look how flat the light travels on it. That's where the normal map comes in. Now to talk about the normal map, let's talk about the predecessor of the normal map, which is the bump map. So I have my little graph over here that I love to have. So you have over here the bump map and the normal map. Two terms you're going to hear a lot. Most of the time also you're going to hear bump mapping, which is actually normal mapping, but they just call it bump mapping because before we used to call them bump map. So what is a bump map? So before the bump map, they would use it on grayscale. So if I go in my color band, they wouldn't use any of the colors. It would just use the last band on the left over here from white to black. And they would try to get to create that fake depth on your texture with that. So whatever would be gray would be flatline. So you wouldn't see a difference. Whatever would be white would be the detail that would pop out. Like you got a little bit of texture here. Now whatever would be black would be the other thing. You would see the inside go lower so that you would have this impression of depth on your texture. And it would only work on top and bottom to get the information. And that's where it would fail, because most of the time when you would start going in angles, you would lose the information and it wouldn't look as good. And you can see right away over here, this is where the difference came. The normal map not only used the 256 color of the grayscale, and what I mean 256 is that you can actually go, you can't go higher than 256. See, 256 is counting 0 are the colors. So now these ones would only use the grayscale. The normal map uses everything. So you have 250 of RGB. And what does that mean? It means that not only does it calculate the light coming from the top on your texture, but also, wait, that's a bad line. But also it calculates the y-axis and the x-axis. So this over here would correct our little problem. The angles would now work. Check it out. And you can see right away over here how much there's more details on the normal map vs the bump map. But don't worry, the bump map still works. I'm pretty sure that the bump map has so many similarities to the height map. I sometimes confuse the two. And correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me in the description below. But I really see a lot of the bump map inside the height map. And I think that's where the legacy of the bump map still exists. Now, you see the little picture over here. I want to leave you with the power to see the difference between the two. So if you just look over here, you're going to see right away. It takes a little bit of time. You can pause the video, but you're going to see how different they are. So now that we have that, let's go inside our scene and let's add or connect the normal map. Just connect it like this. And you're going to see right away that you get a lot more detail. You can't really see well on this over here because of the, maybe it's the light. But you can see a difference happens right away. If I take it out, no, you don't really see it over here. But if you go on screen, so let's go over here and let's add it on the screen inside our scene. This is where you're going to see that it makes a big difference. Look at my texture now. Remember how I was saying that it was so flat on the angles? Look at this now. So if I had this nice lighting, daylight, I would see this fake depth. Unless I get really close, I wouldn't see that it's actually flat. And even from close, I mean, it still looks pretty damn good. I mean, this texture, I just got it online, and just by playing with it a little bit, it starts to look pretty damn good. So that's how the normal map works. And you can see right away if I disconnect it, the difference. You have to apply, and you're going to see right away that it really is different. Look, see now? No impression of depth whatsoever. I'm just going through my planes. Alright. So I think that's a good place to take a break. Let's just connect this again. And we're going to talk about the displacement map after. Since it's really bigger as a subject, I want to take the time to talk more about it. So see.